Mother, tell your children not to walk my way. Tell your children not to hear my words, what they mean, what they say.
Well, hello all, and welcome to a response to one of my own videos. But it's not the video you want. No. This is a response to my NWA tournament video. Glory is not acclaimed. This is why I resubmitted that video last night, was because I was going to do a response to it, or an update to it, to be completely honest. For those of you that haven't seen it, I know most of you haven't because I've seen the views. Go check it out. Before you check this out, you're going to have no clue what I'm talking about. But go check that out. For those of you who have just seen it, well, this is going to be an update to that video. And in that video, I stated that there was going to be 3 tournaments that were going to take place coming up after I made that vid. One was the King of Europe Cup, which is already concluded, which by all accounts, Oliver the Scott on here was at that tournament. He said it was a great tournament. I'm actually looking forward. I'm actually going to try to get that tournament when it's somewhere available where I can get it, because it does sound like an amazing tournament. And then the other 2 I mentioned was the Petty Invitational Cup, which, of course, is IWA Mid-South's tournament, which has been going on for a long time, is one of the best tournaments that there is, period. And then, of course, Pro Wrestling Guerrillas tournament, the Battle of Los Angeles, which is another major tournament. Over the last 2 years, this has been a huge tournament and has just gotten better and better every year. And this is the 3rd year you're going to have it, and it looks like it's just going to be a massive success by all accounts. And I compared those tournaments to this one, and of course one of the criticisms of that, which was right on, and I have no doubt of anybody that says that, and I have no complaints with anybody that said it, was that those tournaments were allowed to use TNA talent, which the NWA was not going to be able to. But I have an update to this, and that update is this. You see, TNA has forbid their talent for working Pro Wrestling Guerrilla shows now. So Battle of Los Angeles basically can have the exact same talent pool as the NWA had. So we can compare the NWA tournament, this tournament that they said, the Glory reclaimed or whatever, to the NWA's tournament. So, or reclaiming the Glory, that's the name of it. To the Pro Wrestling Guerrillas Battle of Los Angeles tournament. So, for those of you not aware, these are the individuals. They're now in the 2nd round. So these are the individuals who are left. Brian Danielson, Fergal DeVitt, who's a good wrestler, Adam Pearce, who, like I said before, is the worst guy in my opinion on the Ring of Honor roster, even though he cut a mad promo on the ROH pay-per-view. Chad Parham, who's okay. Claudio Castagnoli, who I love. Sadiko Jr., who I've gotten to see now, and the guy is very good, I will say that. Fred Sampson, who, and Brent Albright. Brent Albright has already beaten Fred Sampson, so he's on to the 2nd round, or 3rd round, already. So basically, you're left with, because one of the big criticisms everyone had against me before I accidentally deleted the first video and all the comments, was the fact that all of the guys I brought up, it was too ROH happy. Yet we're left with 1, 2, 3, 4 guys. 1 guy's already into the next round who are from ROH. And you have a possibility of having 1, 2. Basically, your next round could be all ROH guys. I don't think there's going to be all ROH guys, but there's a good possibility that's what's going to happen, which is pretty surprising in my view. So, let's compare that to the Battle of Los Angeles tournament. And this tournament has more individuals in it. It has 24 people, which right there, most of you should be saying, well, if they have 24 people, how can it be as strong as a tournament? Well, they have. Let me go down the list of guys. First, we have Joey Ryan, who, in my opinion, should be in the NWA tournament, should have been in the NWA tournament. He now has their tag team titles. I don't know one of the tag team titles. I don't understand why he wasn't in their tournament. Then you have Doug Williams. Doug Williams, of course, who's in Pro Wrestling Noah Star, would not be, of course, allowed to be in the NWA tournament because Pro Wrestling Noah is not part of the NWA. However, you could have put Mike Quackenbush in his place very easy. Then you have Yokosuka from Dragon Gate. You have a bunch of Dragon Gate guys in this, which of course you wouldn't be able to use for the same reason, but you would be able to use Doug Williams. But you would have been able to use any number of guys from New Japan, particularly Rocky Romero, or as Black Tiger, or or Tiger Mask. You would have been able to use Tiger Mask too. Dragon Kid, Chris Bosh, you would have been able to use Chris Bosh. Davey Richards, you'd have been able to use Davey Richards. Jimmy Rave, you'd been able to use Jimmy Rave. Chris Hero, you'd have been able to use Chris Hero. Human Tornado would have definitely been able to use Human Tornado. Jack Evans, you've been able to use Jack Evans. Tyler Black, you've been able to use Tyler Black. Pac, why Pac wasn't in the NWA tournament, I have no idea. Roderick Strong, you've been able to use him. El Generico, you've been able to use him. Matt Seidel, been able to use him. Scott Lost, been able to use him. Claudio Castagnoli, who is of course in your tournament. Shingo, wouldn't have been able to use him. He's a Dragon Gate star. Kevin Steen, you've been able to use him. Brian Danielson, of course, in your tournament, in the NWA tournament. Super Dragon, you could have used Super Dragon. Doubt you would have used Super Dragon because Super Dragon's a dick, as most people know. Rocky Romero, you would have been able to use him, like I said. Nigel McGuinness, probably wouldn't have used Nigel McGuinness because he's a Pro Wrestling Noah star. And Sema, of course, a Dragon Gate guy. That said, let's look at the guys you would have been able to use. You would have been able to use Joey Ryan, who is a guy that wrestles for the NWA, and you didn't use him. Why? I don't know. You would have been able to use Chris Bosh, who's another guy that a lot of people like, and you would have been able to use, no questions about it. Davey Richards, Jimmy Rave, Human Tornado, Jack Evans, Tyler Black, Pac, Roderick Strong, El Generico, Matt Seidel, Scott Lost, Claudio Castagnoli, Kevin Steen, Brian Danielson, Super Dragon, Rocky Romero. That right there is a massive tournament. And yet, we're still left with this piece of garbage that the NWA gave us. And you have to ask yourself why that is. I mean, come on. This is proof that the NWA doesn't know what they're talking about. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, I think their biggest show has been, maybe 1,000 people, maybe. I don't even think it was that. I think it might be closer to 700 or 800. I think that may have been their biggest show they've ever had. Now, their DVD sales, of course, are really well, and that's where they make their money, like ROH, Ring of Honor. But, if they can put on this type of tournament, why couldn't the NWA put on a tournament this much? Why couldn't they pony up the money to bring in this type of talent, considering that you have 40 promotions that could have ponied up the money and put on a tournament much more similar to this, in which you would have been able to sell the DVD, which is going to be mass released, unlike this, which won't be mass released, will only be released on the internet, will be mass released to Best Buy and all sorts of stuff, and would have been able to advertise your new TV deal. Yes, everybody. Here's the announcement. NWA now has a television deal, which is good. I have no problem with the NWA having a television deal because I think there needs to be more wrestling on television. I love having wrestling on television. I like having Wrestling Society X on television, to be completely honest. I like having wrestling on television. And the fact that I believe, and this will freak a lot of people out, that the NWA will probably put on a real wrestling alternative to what the WWE gives us and to what TNA gives us as well, and what TNA should be doing, which is a wrestling alternative to what the WWE gives us. I believe the NWA will do that. Now, will they do that effectively? I don't know, but I do believe that they will do that. That said, this was a chance because you know that they were in negotiations for this for a while. And for those of you wondering where the show's going to air, it's going to air on Colors on Dish Network. If you have Dish Network, you're the only ones going to be able to see it. It's on Colors. It's up in the 4-digit channels. Most of you probably don't even know you got the channel, but you do. I've got Dish Network, so yes, I know you got the channel. That said, you could have used that as a way to advertise for this television deal that you just got. And people would have went, wow, look at this tournament they put on. Maybe I should turn it and watch. Now, yes, maybe you wouldn't be able to see the same guys, but, you still would have been able to say, it would have got people to watch, And this makes me wonder, too, because I don't know if anybody can answer this, but if Brian Danielson, who most people think is going to win this tournament, if he wins this tournament, is he going to be allowed on NWA television? Because he has an ROH deal for 2 years already. I'm just asking. I don't know. I don't know how the ROH deal pans out, so I don't know. I'm just asking if anybody knows. That said, this again, in my opinion, is another failure for this tournament, and shows that the NWA, in my opinion, still doesn't know what they're doing. But that's just me. That's my opinion. I'm out. I just thought I would update this. I'll probably do another update later about this tournament as well as it progresses. But anyways, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll talk to you later.
Let's ride.